Hello everyone, I hope you are feeling well and great. A warm welcome to the 6th session of the Corona Rendering Training course. In this session, we will delve into exterior scene lighting and gain a comprehensive understanding of HDRI images and the image-based lighting technique. Before we begin, if you recall, we loaded an image in previous sessions and stated that the main concepts of lighting consist of 3 parts. Is available. You can review the specifications and results of using each HDRI in its PDF catalog, and then load your chosen one into the 3ds Max environment. Important note, after selecting your desired HDRI from the catalog, note that you have a file with a HDR or XR extension. We are not concerned with JPG files, they are merely previews of the image. As you can see, it says JPG here. The actual HDRI files are these two. One of them at 2K resolution has a small file size which may not be acceptable. However, if we look at higher quality collections, their sizes can reach 250 MB or more. In fact, these images are saved in the HDRI format, so that all color channels and adjustments are available for editing, giving us complete freedom to work. HDRI images are 32-bit or high dynamic range images. Other archives, like the Peter Guthrie archive, are also very famous and high quality, and those who have been working for a while know how much we've used them in our projects. Now, how do we use these images? I will open another archive of new HDRIs. These have incredible quality and add a very high level of detail to your render. Their size can reach 400 or 500 MB, and to use them, it's recommended to have at least 32 GB of RAM. To start, let's go into the 3ds Max environment to first test this technique on an interior scene. By pressing the 8 key, the Environment and Effects window opens. This time, instead of a Corona sky, we will assign a Corona bitmap to this slot. After selecting Corona bitmap, you must load it from here. In instance mode, we paste the path to the HDRI file. For example, I will choose an image with an orange theme. By doing this, we no longer have the standard sky, Corona sky. When you are looking to create a specific atmosphere and lighting in your scene, using an HDRI is mandatory. Note that loading it may take some time as these files. After it loads, the only thing I need to do is press the Generate button in the LightMix once. I'll then set the render to beauty mode to see the result faster. I'll make sure the LightMix is set to 3ds Max environment and start the interactive production render IPR again. If IPR slows down your system, take a regular render instead. Look at the beautiful and unique light with a sunset theme that has been added to the scene. Now, how can we adjust the direction of the light? We don't know where the main bright area of the HDRI is located. To adjust it, after loading the bitmap, you have an option in its settings called Rotate under the Environment section. For example, I'll set its value to 45 degrees. You can see that by changing this angle, the direction of the light in the scene changes. By rotating it, you can precisely determine from which angle the main light source should shine into your scene. By changing the angle to 270 degrees, you can see that we get an interesting and unique result each time. It now appears that the light source has moved to this side. If I completely hide the curtain, it becomes clear that the light is entering from this exact direction. I can increase its intensity and add special effects to my work. Advanced technique, using CoronaColorCorrect. Okay, the next technique is to place this HDRI inside a map called CoronaColorCorrect. We will become thoroughly familiar with all these maps in the material creation session. A quick note, please do not attempt these exercises on a low-spec system. Even with an NVMe SSD like a Samsung 970 EVO Plus, you can see how much the loading process strains the system. Using CoronaColorCorrect, I can apply changes directly to the HDRI. For instance, I can increase its saturation, and you'll see it update instantly in the render. Look how great that turned out. We can do very fine work here. For example, I'll slightly adjust the hue to make the yellow tones more golden, evoking a golden hour feel. I can also slightly decrease the saturation and adjust the gamma. Gamma controls the overall brightness and darkness. If I lower it, the colors become richer. You should adjust these settings logically to avoid ruining the image. With these adjustments, I was able to successfully simulate a golden hour mood. Combining lights with LightMix. The beauty of the LightMix is that, in addition to the HDRI light, I can also add the sun to the scene to create another unique mood. I won't use the invert option, as it completely ruins the result. I'll add a bit of contrast to make the light richer. Then, I'll slightly decrease the highlight compression to prevent highlights from burning out and to preserve details. I'll go back to the rotation settings and set it to 0 or 360 degrees to return to the initial state. Now I can set it back to 270 degrees. I think this angle is good. Now, I'll turn on the artificial lights inside the scene. You can see the area affected by the HDRI has a yellowish tint and is very well illuminated. I can make the interior lights slightly bluish, so the combination of yellow and blue creates a beautiful color contrast, giving us an excellent result. Finally, I set the intensity of the supplementary lights to 50 and adjust their color. Conclusion and final render. I finalized the work by enabling the bloom and glare effects and adjusting their intensity. So that was interior scene lighting using an HDRI. You can play with these options to achieve the best results. You can test all your HDRIs one by one, try them from different angles, and get great outcomes. For the final render, by adjusting the intensity and color of the lights, using lens effects in the post-processing section, and with denoising and sharpening enabled, we easily achieved a top-tier render in terms of lighting. Starting the exterior scene lighting. Now let's apply an HDRI to this exterior scene and work with the LightMix. I'll switch to one of my cameras that has a good view from behind the building. Each of these cameras defines a specific scenario for us. I want to load my HDRI image for this camera view. Before loading the HDRI, I will first place a Corona sun in the scene. I have already placed one, but we'll do it again together. I draw the sun from one side towards the building. Since we no longer want to use the default 3ds Max or Corona Sky environment and intend to use multiple HDRIs simultaneously, I will activate the multi-pass mode in the LightMix. Here, I have already assigned a few HDRIs to the environment. First, I will clear them. Now, by pressing the Add button, since the first option is selected, a Corona Sky is automatically added, which is linked and synchronized with the Corona Sun in our scene. You might ask what happened here and how you can add multiple lights. As soon as you go to the LightMix section, you can specify how many light sources you want to test simultaneously. If you have a powerful system, you can load 5, 6, or even 10 HDRIs at once, and with just a single render, turn each one on and off to see the result. However, as we've mentioned, this is a very heavy process. I currently have 4 HDRIs and 1 Corona Sky. I press the Generate button in LightMix and navigate to my desired camera. I check the render settings for a quick test. In the Scene tab, there's an option to exclude materials. I exclude the glass materials and light sources from being replaced by the white override material. Then, I generate the LightMix once more and start the render. System performance warning. Look, this project is currently using all of my RAM's 63 GB. This is why using LightMix with multiple heavy HDRIs is not recommended for large-scale projects. The system is struggling to get through the initial processing before it even begins rendering. For now, I'll stop the render and turn off all the lights. Testing lights individually in LightMix. First, I'll keep only the first light, the Corona sky, turned on and reduce its intensity. As you can see, the CPU and the NVIDIA denoise are performing their tasks very well. If I disable the denoise, you can see how much noise is added back to the image. We've achieved a very attractive and interesting sky from the Corona sky. Now, I'll turn it off and enable the next light. The important point is that we rarely use these lights simultaneously. The goal is not to have all these layers turned on. Our objective is to determine which HDRI is most suitable for the scene, so we can ultimately place only that one in the main environment slot. This is the best way to use LightMix in this scenario. Select one primary HDRI and then balance it with the other artificial lights in the scene. This HDRI gave us an excellent result. I'll test the next one, which has a cloudy weather theme. Look how realistic it makes the scene. I control the overexposed area's highlights by reducing the intensity. In less than 2 or 3 minutes, a professional and high-quality test render is ready. Exporting with a transparent background for post-production. A very important tip: what if you want to add the sky later in a software like Photoshop during the post-production stage? You can simply press the Save button and save your image in PNG format. This will give you a transparent background, alpha channel. If we go to the desktop, we can see that, unlike the JPEG file, the PNG file has no background. If you drop it into Photoshop, you can place any sky you want behind it. My system is under heavy load because the screen recording software and the render are running simultaneously. Finally, I'll turn on the last HDRI and increase its intensity. The result from this one is also fantastic and gives us a very unique mood. The noise you see in the image will disappear as the number of render passes increases. Do not worry about this. Our render has currently only completed 11 passes. For an acceptable result, you should aim for at least 100 passes. For the final render of this project's night version, we let it render for up to 200 passes. Each of these HDRIs has its own unique atmosphere and mood, providing us with outstanding results. I've spent a lot of time searching for and collecting these high-quality images, and I will try to make them all available to you through the Telegram channel or within this training package. If you find these high-quality HDRIs, download them. Otherwise, you can send me your hard drive, and I will copy them for you. Combining the sun and HDRI and final adjustments. Now I'll select the sunny HDRI and turn on the Corona sun. You can see how the scene comes to life and looks more professional with the sun added. Our lighting is almost ready. By playing with these numbers and reducing the environment's influence, I achieve an excellent result. If you want the scene to have a warmer tone, you can adjust the white balance. I will leave it at its default value. Night scene lighting workflow. You can use the same method to light your night scenes. First, enable the night HDRI. For example, I'll use the same cloudy HDRI and completely turn off the sun. I'll significantly reduce the HDRI's intensity to have just a faint ambient light for the night. Now, turn on the artificial lights that you have already placed in the project. I'll change the color of the facade lights to yellow, as I personally don't prefer white light for this style of architecture. Additional tips and a common lighting mistake. Render time. Remember that when you add artificial lights, especially in night renders, the render time increases significantly. This is normal. If you notice your render has been running for 2 hours and is still noisy, these lights are the reason. Light types. All the lights used in this scene are standard Corona light types, i.e., rectangle, sphere, or disc. Spreading light. To make the light spread over an area instead of just illuminating a single spot, I set it to a rectangular shape, allowing it to cover a wider range. The big problem: instance versus copy. The only issue we have in this scene right now is that the lights on the lower floors were copied as instances of the upper floor lights. This means changing one affects all the others. While the light intensity is appropriate for the upper floors, it's causing burnouts on the lower floors. The correct approach would have been to use copy so that each light could be adjusted independently. To temporarily fix this, I'll slightly decrease the overall intensity of the lights and increase highlight compression to control the overexposed areas. Summary and final recommendations. This was one of the most important sessions of the course. I recommend you watch it 3 or 4 times. I will try to provide this scene file for you to practice on, although I'll first need to optimize it as it's a very heavy project and requires the client's permission. The overall process of simulating lighting in 3ds Max and Corona is just like this. We did the hard work once by placing the artificial lights correctly and then using LightMix. We found our favorite HDRIs for the day and night scenes, saved the results, and took the final renders. This brings us to the end of this session. I hope it was useful for you. Until the next tutorials, goodbye.